You open that app, a'udhu billah, from TikTok. Everything is on TikTok. Everything.
This is what taqwa is, really. It's like a global ummatic consciousness, you know?
I think people like Mufti Menk need to live up to that standard. The scholars who are meant to represent Islam out there in the social media or out there on television have not done so in a comprehensive way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. We are back with the rundown. Let's get started with today's episode. So it's all about China, and a few other topics about Palestine.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So China. So let's discuss what's going on in China. Like, I mean, China's like flexing they're flexing their muscles.
They're
right
calling
now.
it the beginning of the Chinese century.
Yeah, I mean, they're not scared. I feel like they've been waiting for this moment for a while, because now all of a sudden they're just coming out flexing everything. AI, you know.
It's not all of a sudden. It's been creeping. It's been a creeping dragon. Been building up and building up and building up.
Yeah, well, I mean,
and what's that?
With the tariffs and everything.
Now now it's kind of coming to like a point of no return. I think the Trump administration is realizing the Chinese threat.
Yeah.
Especially with AI is like on track to expedite a lot of things. Like AI is shortening technological timelines. And I think the United States is realizing to what extent they're behind when it comes to manufacturing, technology. I once heard that China graduates more engineers in a year than America graduates in all fields.
Oh wow. That's
so
hectic.
the brain output of China is like totally unforeseen compared to America.
Yeah.
Like they're just railing forward, and I don't know, is Trump going to be able to bring things back?
I mean, he's trying. I know even China's manufacturing output, you can say, is a lot more than the US, and I think that's why the US right now, Trump is trying to promote in-house manufacturing, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of these tariffs is pushing a lot of companies to start manufacturing in the US.
Yeah.
Which is better for the US, but like boats as well, because now there's like, I feel like there's a global race for dominating the ocean trade routes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why he was trying to get a hold of
like the amount that China is massively outproducing America's naval capacity.
Yeah, and on that as well, all of the Chinese boats are actually, like any Chinese boat, for whatever reason, they have a minimum requirement that it has to meet military specs.
Yeah.
Right? Every single boat, even if you're making a boat for like, I don't know, transportation, for like passenger transportation, whatever, they all have a minimum like military, like it has to be able to carry a certain amount of weight or certain military equipment in case that ever is in case.
But just to kind of zoom out a little bit and give our viewers some big picture.
Let's do it.
Like America, king of the world.
Yeah.
Since World War II, really. I mean, there was the whole Cold War stuff with the Soviet Union.
The US, not the Soviet.
The USSR.
Yeah.
The USSR versus the USA.
The communists.
But they kind of like by the 80s, maybe even by the 70s, it was obvious like America was number one. And the European empires kind of committed seppuku in World War II. It's like when the Japanese stab themselves to kill ritual.
Yeah, the whole
like I have dishonored,
Yeah, that was racist, but it's okay.
No, I haven't. I didn't. This is really what they do.
Yeah, I know, but the accent. No,
I didn't put an accent. What do you?
You did. I mean, the viewers can play that back, but like
it's cool. It's part of the performance, my friend.
Yeah, sounded like Korean, by the way.
The 19th century was the British century. That's what they called it.
Yeah.
It was rule Britannia. Britannia rules the waves.
Yeah.
20th century was the American century. 21st century is open.
Are you sure it's open though? But
not like for the first. It is still dominating, but for the first time in a long time, we're starting to see multipolarity returning.
Yeah, like people are catching up.
Like the usual in the world is that you have multiple superpowers competing, and that's a very violent world. That's a very competitive world, and lots of technology gets invented. But the period that you and I grew up in, and our parents grew up in, even our grandparents for most of their lives, has been one which is very unusual in human history, where the Americans are just running around. they
They're
got
calling,
they
they're
got the
calling the
world by
shots.
they got the world by the horns.
Yeah, they're calling the shots. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But China is interesting because I read this book, or I didn't actually read the book. Everybody just these days they read summaries. I read a book review uh, where the number two guy the second most powerful guy in China visited America in the 1990s or in the 1980s, and he published a book in the 1990s. It was called America versus America, or it was called America Against America.
Like it destroying itself or something.
Yeah, so this guy, he wanted to study Americans.
Yeah.
Because this was at a time when the Cold War was ending. Americans had kind of proven capitalism,
Right.
and China was like, we got to get in on that.
Okay.
We're going to replicate that success.
But isn't China still communist?
In name, yes. But Deng Xiaoping was one of the, you could call him one of the forerunners of the modern Chinese state.
Okay.
And he modernized China. He took the capitalist model of success, and he's like, let's turn China into an economic powerhouse.
Okay.
So this guy, he's kind of part of that movement. He comes to America. He lives in Iowa, and he's like, I'm going to understand Americans. And
Chinese guy moves
yeah,
to
the
Iowa.
Chinese guy moves to Iowa here, and he writes a book.
Okay.
And he's now considered China's chief intellectual.
Ooh.
Yeah, so this guy, he's second only to Xi Jinping in Chinese influence.
So he's doing something right.
Yeah, so he has lots of influence because he's seen as the guy who knows America. He's the America expert.
Yeah.
And one of the things, and the book has lots of insights, but one of the things that he says is that America is trapped in its desires and sexuality and drugs.
Oh yeah.
And
100%.
I remembered this quote by Salah ad-Din. And he said, and I don't know how true this quote is, but I think the meaning.
Probably one of those those Rumi quotes.
Yeah,
that you always see
but this one, we'll see. I don't know how the veracity of it, but the meaning is sound.
Okay.
Which he says that if you want to defeat a nation, make sexuality and the nudity common in the younger generation, right? And you can speculate why would that destroy a nation? It messes up the lineage, it distracts people, it creates fitna and tension between people.
Yeah,
and then
it creates weakness. You're becoming weak to your desires. So definitely.
And if you want to see the difference between China and the U.S., Red Note?
Red Note, no.
TikTok?
Yeah.
TikTok is Chinese, right?
Yeah.
So TikTok, you open that app, A'udhu Billah from TikTok. You see
in America, here in the West.
In America, you open up TikTok, and it's the most popular app. Girls dancing.
It's always some random stuff.
Yeah, and it's everything is sexualized on TikTok. Everything. It's all about sex.
Yeah, and dances.
Yeah, and when you go on Red Note, see, Red Note is the Chinese. It's the Chinese TikTok.
Okay.
So China, so this is the point.
But they also have TikTok.
No.
Oh no.
Chinese people aren't on TikTok. You're not, because there's censorship in China.
Yeah, but I heard that TikTok, they have TikTok in China and in the States, but the difference is that China tweaked the algorithm in the US so that, or at least in the West, so that it only basically promotes those kind of videos, but in China it promotes videos of learning and education and scientific development.
So we can check that.
Yeah.
But that proves exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because Red Note is heavily censored. You cannot have you cannot show too much skin on Red Note.
Okay.
You cannot have LGBT plus content on Red Note.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one set of rules for their American user base and one set of rules for their Chinese user base.
Yeah.
Understanding that, TikTok is a cultural weapon against America. And I wonder if this kind of played into the desire for Americans to ban TikTok. Because look, China, not only are they collecting data on Americans, but they're using the worst of America's vices, Americans' vices against themselves.
Yeah, I mean, media for a very long time was always the tool that people used to build public opinion and, change the hearts and the minds. Basically selling the American dream through movies and shows and all that stuff, music. So China's right now, it seems like China's doing that to the US and to us here in the West.
I don't know if they've been right now successful at creating a good image from a media perspective of China.
Mm-hmm.
I think most Westerners still think of China. They think about social credit. They think
But I mean,
about
that's true though.
communism. Yeah, they think about Tiananmen Square. They think about what they did with the Uyghurs, for example.
Yeah, but
Like,
that's true. Like that's see the East
it is true. It
the
is
East
true.
Turkestan issue is true.
But I'm saying their image is
social
still
credit.
really bad. Like,
Right.
America, as imperialistic and colonial as it is, Hollywood has been able to rehabilitate the image of America.
Yeah.
Like, China, as of yet, has not been able to develop the kind of soft power that America has been able to develop.
They're actually starting to work on that. You know, I Show Speed.
Yes.
Yeah, I Show Speed went to China. He's doing this whole
He
like
became like a monk, or like he Shaolin monk training.
yeah, he's doing a lot of stuff.
I saw some of that.
He was jumping with a car that jumps basically that dances with you.
Mm.
He did like they're taking him around China, and I guess they're trying to reverse this whole propaganda, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But they're doing a really good job.
They're trying to rehabilitate their image.
They're doing a good job. Like I Show Speed is, he's doing a lot of all these videos that he's dropping is really changing the image of China.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's a smart move, and I think America's Hollywood and their artistic abilities have taken a slump. I don't like any kind of these movies that come out these days.
Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of getting more obvious that they're making it to pump up the American image and the American dream or the American, you know, that patriotism.
Yeah.
Right. So there were some clips that came out which were funny too, like the Chinese are clowning the Americans now with the whole tariff. The whole tariff thing is actually showing showing China being like fearless against the U.S. Right. It's like they're upping it and they don't really care. So there are some videos where they're showing like they did an AI generated thing where fat people are working in a factory, you know, and they're making fun of the U.S. In that sense.
Funny stuff.
Yeah.
Like America is a victim of its own success. Let's put it that way. Americans are too coddled to go back to the factory and like work at the conditions that Chinese people work in. And let's face it, they're outmanned. America's 1/3 of the population of China.
Wow.
You know, there's an American journalist, Matthew Iglesias.
Okay.
He made the case for 1 billion Americans. We should up the immigration and the birth rate, get 1 billion Americans so we can compete with China. He was laughed at, but I think now he's proving to be salient in his observations.
Yeah. I think they're trying. So our paradigm, our framework of you know, getting married and you know, sometimes multiple marriages.
Yeah.
Another case, having multiple children. You know,
yes.
This is definitely the model that people are trying to follow. They find successful.
Who's trying to follow?
Well, I guess the West and China, or
they're trying to follow multiple marriages.
Well,
and
I mean,
multiple
like
kids?
no, not multiple marriages, but the idea of you know, increasing the population. It's weird because.
But how are they trying to do that?
Well, Americans see what you just said. Basically, him advocating for increasing the population, right?
But this is like one thinker. I mean, like there's lots of American thinkers who say, look, we need higher fertility rate. But what's actually being done to change people's behavior? This is the question.
Yeah, I mean, maybe higher fertility is one thing, but bringing in resources or
immigrants.
Immigrants.
The immigrants is a different question.
Yeah.
But like, and you can't have it. I don't feel it's sustainable to. And now I'm gonna sound like a nationalist, but like it's not sustainable if your country is based on the idea of a nation. You bring in people who are alien to that nation, unless you think that there's how ideologically synced up with what this nation is supposed to be and what its vision is. They just come, you know, for their own self-incentives, for their own enrichment. Not that necessarily native-born people have the vision of the nation in their head either, but this is what America has done. This is what Europe has done. This is what Canada has done. It's what countries like Japan have not done, which is bring in immigrants to help them fill in the gap that the low fertility rate created.
Right.
Yeah.
So, do you want to tell me anything else on China? Is there anything else to discuss on China?
Well, I'll just bring up one point, which is their AI.
The AI, the AI world.
So DeepSeek is like up there.
Yeah, but isn't DeepSeek old by now? Like it's been already a few weeks and there's so many things coming out.
But they continue to update themselves.
Okay.
Right? So like between DeepSeek and Quen and whatever Alibaba has. So these are the different Chinese AIs.
Okay,
There are multiple Chinese AIs.
Yeah.
And then you have like they're in the running with people like Claude and ChatGPT, OpenAI, Anthropic, Microsoft, Google is now finally catching up. I don't know where the heck they were. Meta is catching up too, and Grok. So, but China's up there, right? And China just built the biggest data centers in the world. And they have like these monorails. It looks like something out of Disneyland, but it's like instead of Disneyland, it's like a real it's a real industrial park, and they're attracting the best talent from across the world. Not that they don't have great native born talent. They do. And lots of Chinese people inhabit Western universities. They come back and they contribute to their nation.
Right.
So they have that. And, maybe I'll make a point here since, this is supposed to be a Muslim podcast. Do we have that attitude?
Like reinvesting in our own nations and in our own countries, right?
Yeah, because when you look at Asian Americans or Chinese Americans or Chinese Canadians, there's kind of two types. There's the kind that were born and raised, in Canada or America, and then there's the kind that come as students, international students. But even in both populations, I see there is a sense of like, I want to give back to my country. My people. And they'll even take worse deals. Like lots of the DeepSeek team were people who were very successful in the Western industry, the Western academia.
But they took a pay cut and basically went back home.
They,
you know what's funny?
Yeah.
There's some pictures of like this race of like the best people in the tech world or whatever. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But it was like a whole Chinese team for China, and then it was like a whole like obviously they're ethnically like Asian. In America as well. So,
So I know what you're talking about, like the Math Olympiad.
I think that's
the Chinese team, the American team, ethnically homogenous. They're all just Chinese people.
Right. Yeah, but like definitely as Muslims, we should be thinking. Our minds should be thinking, how do we utilize all of the skill sets we have and reinvest in our own countries back home. It's just that it's hard when a lot of the countries are being sanctioned and pressured.
But it's a mindset. And I think the mindset of I might not achieve the heights in Western industry that I might achieve for the benefit of my people was well exemplified by one of the sisters. Do you know her name?
The Microsoft sister.
The Microsoft sister. What's her name? Ibtihal.
Yeah.
And like, she made a big sacrifice.
Mustafa, shame on you. You say you claim that you care about using AI for good, but Microsoft sells AI weapons to the Israeli military. 50,000 people have died, and Microsoft...
All right, so today's celebration did include some interruptions. During that presentation about Copilot, a woman got up and started shouting about the use of Microsoft technology by the Israeli military. She accused the company of assisting in what she called the genocide of Palestinians. We're told the woman is a Microsoft employee. She was ultimately escorted out of the room.
How many people are willing to do that? How many people are willing to make a statement, send a message, put their heart in the right place? And if everybody did that, if every Muslim did that, if every Muslim thought like that, we would not be in our situation.
May Allah bless her. May Allah bless her.
I mean,
it's hard to do, but the way she confronted them at their
like Microsoft conference.
It was a conference
with Mustafa Sulaiman.
Yeah.
Who sounds like a Muslim.
Sounds like a Muslim.
But he's an atheist.
Is he actually?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
But when he was raised, when he was a young teenager, he started a Muslim helpline as an atheist.
Wait, what?
Like this was his contribution to
Islam,
the community.
Wait, as an atheist,
he had already believed in atheism, but
that doesn't make sense. Hold on,
he grew up Muslim.
So he's trying to a helpline, as in like he's trying to save Muslims from Islam.
No, I think it was just like a Muslim youth helpline. Whatever Muslim youth have trouble with. And I don't know the details of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the guy is clearly industrious. The guy clearly takes initiative.
Yeah.
And it's sad sometimes when you see that a highly successful person gets tricked by shaitan. And shaitan kind of gets you high on your own supply. You know what I mean?
They always say don't
never get high on your own supply.
Yeah, that's what they say.
I know the rules, the unwritten rules. But that's what happens to some successful people, is that they start to kind of believe in their own but it is like what I just said.
Yeah.
And they get lost. But anyway, the guy was, I think, shamed and put in his place.
They fired her. They fired her right after.
Fired her and the other sister, yeah. Or
Who's
the
the
other
other
woman.
sister?
There was another woman. I don't remember her
Oh,
name.
she also spoke up.
Yeah. There were two.
Yeah. Like it takes a lot, but I think in one of her videos she was saying, she did an interview with Amar Sulaiman. I think I don't know if it's that video or another video. Anyways, she was stating that her biggest fear is on the day of judgment, she's going to be questioned about her contribution to the, to the genocide.
Subhanallah.
Well, we a lot of us
Like-
need to start thinking more like this,
Brother, if we all thought like this, there would be no genocide. And this is the issue that people have wrong thinking. They think that, well, if I move, like the sister did,
Yeah.
it's going to be just a pop in the wind. Nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to dissipate. But if you do it, see, Islam is genius. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a system which accounts for coordination problems. Because this is a coordination problem. It's like, I can't move until you move, and he moves, and he moves, and he moves. Otherwise, we don't get an outcome. Right?
Yeah.
Wrong. Because Islam, you're motivated. Your personal incentive is the akhirah.
Right.
So if I just move, I just do what I'm supposed to do, I'm going to be in the right place in the akhirah.
Right.
Whether or not the outcome is achieved.
Right.
Whether or not, this act of resistance, this act of protest ends up leading to a substantive outcome, between her and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, did the right thing.
Yeah.
And that's what everybody just needs to worry about. And
This is
it's really powerful when you actually think about it like that.
This is what taqwa is, really. It's
Yeah.
like a global ummatic consciousness. You're aware of the ummah, you're aware of the things you need to be doing, that Allah is watching you.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that because what people do, and I think most people, they have on their mind that if I sacrifice all this, I lose my job. What did I do it all for? I'm gonna
Yeah.
be suffering, but like, is it really doing any kind of like shift on a global scale?
I think that when a Lebanese person, like something happens to Lebanon, they feel it.
Yeah, 100%.
When an
Yeah.
Egyptian person, something happens to Egypt or Egyptian people, they feel it. When something happens to Palestine, Palestinian Muslims, Palestinian Christians, they feel it.
Yeah.
But all the other Muslims, at most, they give their sympathies as though it's happening to somebody else.
Yeah, it's sad. What's unfortunate is when it's happening in your own, in your own country. Or
Yeah.
Like, let's say the country that you're from, and you're still not feeling it. That's the sad part.
The puzzle that the Ummah is trying to solve, the puzzle that we're trying to solve as I3 Institute, as anybody who's working in this da'wah.
Right.
How do we get the Muslims to politically identify their nation as the Muslims?
I think it's because we don't have a roadmap. Like, there's this video I want to share with you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw it. There's one sister on Instagram. I think it was in my Explore page or something. I came across it. Wallah, her sentiment I felt before, and I feel like a lot of people feel it. I used to be really big on Palestine. Boycotts, protests, donations, what do you call it? Emailing the
MPs. That's
signing,
like our congressman, for people who don't know.
signing petitions, literally everything in my power. Oh, and the biggest thing is on a daily basis or on a regular basis, the awareness, right? Building public awareness, showing people what's happening constantly, and you get drained.
Yeah.
You really get drained because you're doing all of that work, that output, and you're seeing that people aren't really reacting the way they should be. People are not taking the action that they should be taking, right? And it's sad because before I show this video, there are other videos as well, and maybe we can play it as well. I seen another one where the brother is like, he's really very like emotional and passionate, saying like, if you guys don't at least like and share this post, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like we've gotten so low that just liking and sharing is like a bare minimum. But the question is, what is that for, right? Because the brother goes on in the same post and he goes on to making dua. But what actions are we taking outside of just these actions, right?
Yeah.
So what I think we actually don't have a roadmap. And this sister, may Allah bless her, I feel like she kind of came to that realization that there needs to be something done. We need to she says it, we need to collectively get together and figure it out and then go all in, because whatever sacrifice we make is not gonna equate to the anywhere close to the amount of sacrifice that the struggle that they're going through in Palestine, and the same with everywhere else around the world. So let me play this video real quick. All right, here it is, bro.
17 months in, if you're telling me I made a donation, I made a prayer, I boycotted, I posted an Instagram story, and think that you've done enough and you've paid your dues, you're a damn fool. At this point, I genuinely don't care who I piss off because this isn't normal. Like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with any of us? Like, we have all failed. Us living in the US, us US citizens, us living in the belly of the beast, whatever we lose will never compare to what the people in Gaza are losing. Like, I don't know what you don't understand. They're being blown up into pieces, they're getting beheaded, they're losing their limbs, they're losing their families, their homes are gone, everything that they've ever known is gone. They are being displaced time and time again from evacuation notice to another, running across this tiny strip of land, not knowing where to go and being met with airstrikes wherever they go. I am sick of hearing, I wish we can do more, what more is there to do? Myself included, but at this point, like, we figure it out. We as a group collectively figure out what the hell to do and risk it all. Whatever we lose will never compare to what they're losing.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, this is a leader.
Subhanallah. No, but like that realization that something needs to be done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we need to, like, we're so deep in and we still haven't figured it out. How are we Muslim? Like, me watching this, may Allah bless her, because she says, even myself included, right? She acknowledges that she also, you know, is on that same boat. So how do we not have a roadmap? Like, as Islam is our solution. Unfortunately, now, like, nowadays, the Islamic rhetoric is that Islam is a coping mechanism. Yeah. That's what we hear everywhere on social media.
It might not be said exactly like that, but that's the function, that the role that it ends up playing.
Yeah, 100%.
It's you know, we only use it to make us feel better about the situation without using it to spur action, maybe uncomfortable action.
Yeah, but the problem with that is when we don't have a roadmap, where are the Muslims seeking the solution? Where are they going for the solution? They're going to Western paradigms, right? Liberal paradigms. Or they're going to extremes that are un-Islamic, that are completely wrong. Why? Because of emotional reaction. See, the Ummah, unfortunately, we're constantly between two reactions. One is the emotional reaction. So they're living life, right? Just going with the flow, autopilot. And then when something happens, they're getting into a place of emotional reaction. They want quick relief, right? And when that happens, their quick relief oftentimes is not channeled in the, or at least their efforts are not channeled in the right way. So they can be tricked, they can be easily fooled, they can easily have the wrong ideas and say, you know, we need to do this as a solution, you know, or we need to, I don't even want to mention, some of these things are very problematic, right? But Islam has the solution. You know, it requires patience, it requires work day in and day out. When the Prophet ﷺ passed by Sumayya radiallahu anha, the first martyr in Islam, and the family of Yasir, right? He said to them, be patient, O family of Yasir, Jannah is for you, right? Or as he said it. But he didn't just say that, because at that point, the Muslims were weak, couldn't do much, right? The Sahabas, you know, wanted to take action, but the Prophet ﷺ told them, this is not what we were sent for, this is not what we were commanded to. So he ﷺ told him to be patient, but in that time he was also working on developing the Sahaba, teaching the Muslimin the proper aqidah, right? Developing them, making them the superheroes that we know them to be now, right? Taking them from who they were, like regular people, to the heroes that we know them. And working long term, like when he started to seek for Nusra, right? And Quraysh started to offer him alayhi salam, you know, a position. Like they said, you rule for 1 year, we rule for the other year. You know, they offered him women, they offered him money, they offered him everything. And he still, you know, there's no compromise in Islam. So the Prophet ﷺ declined. And when he went to seek Nusra from different tribes, they also wanted to compromise. Who's going to lead after you? We want to lead. But in Islam, we have shura, the people choose, right? The qualified leader. Likewise, they're like, we can protect you from, another tribe was like, we can protect you from all corners except for we have a deal with the Persians. Prophet ﷺ said, no, like, it's not Persians, it's not Akbar, Allahu Akbar, right? So you have to, you know, your wala, there's wala and bara, you know.
Like on the question of a roadmap.
So they were still working. The Prophet ﷺ were working towards a solution, which was implementing the deen. And when they did that in Medina, and then they established justice, they established a system, they established an authority that is able to actually look out for the affairs of the Muslims.
But what does all of that mean for us now?
Well, when the nation state model makes you only look after your own national interest, that's the problem. It's like we are Muslim, right? So you need to look after the Islamic, the authentic Islamic state should be looking after every Muslim individual's interest. It doesn't matter their background or ethnicity, right? So and our people need to be united. We don't have division in Islam. This doesn't exist. This concept of us all being, looking after our own affairs, being multiple states. This is a Western bid'ah. You can
Brother
say.
Nas is using, mashallah, some very big words.
Yeah, what are you trying to say? Like, oh.
No, you're a very educated person. This is what I'm trying to tell the audience. Intellectual professor. I am
relax.
ana miskeen jahil. I'm gonna help just translate a little bit.
Okay,
You know
let's do it.
like
Bismillah.
this, like the cliche stick analogy.
I don't know.
You
what
take
that is.
you take one pencil, snap it. It's very easy.
It's very easy. You put all the sticks
You put all-
together.
this
You
is
can't
hard.
Yeah.
Unity.
Yeah. Unity.
Okay, but how do you get to unity? Okay, unity is a big thing. How do you get to unity? You have to get people to think in a way that's united.
Yeah.
Which is what you were saying. Like, we think in terms of nation states. Like, if you ask a Muslim, who are you? What is your who are your people? Who's your team? Who do you stand up for? Is it really Islam and the Muslims? Do we think of Islam as our nation? Or do we think of it as our religion?
Right.
I think most people would say, well, Islam's my religion and my nation is Egypt or Jordan or Palestine or whatever your
Or
nation
American
is.
or Canadian,
American. Yeah,
or-
that's what Westway.
Yeah. 100%.
So this is like the intellectual goal.
I think it's because we don't understand what Islam really is.
We don't.
Like I
And
said,
on purpose.
Most of the discourse within the Islamic world on social media is always about like the good feeling, right?
Yeah.
The spiritual feeling, the what you're supposed to do as an individual, and so everybody's just trying to add on to their individual tasks. Like they're praying, they want to pray more. They're fasting, they want to fast more. They're giving zakat, they're giving zakat more, or they're giving more zakat. So a global solution to all of our pains, to all of our issues, to poverty, to famine, to corruption, to polarization between the rich and the poor. Islam is a better solution than capitalism or communism combined.
And
you know what I mean?
Even people don't understand that these are in the same universe.
Yeah.
Like, okay, Islam is a religion. See, and this is part of the problem, is that when people think in terms of nation and building a nation and civilization, they listen to the politicians. Politicians in the Muslim world or in the Arab world or wherever, we live in a secular society which separated religion from politics. So these politicians speak in national terms. They speak in terms of building a better Saudi Arabia or a better Turkey or a better Pakistan. And when we listen to the scholars, okay, the scholars become kind of like a clergy. They speak in terms of, they deal with Nasr's spirituality, his ilm of the Quran, his tajweed. And so naturally, like, it's not a mystery why the Muslims have not been able to conceptualize Islam as their nation and have not been able to create a kind of inter-Muslim fraternal national bond. And because when we listen to people who speak in such terms, they're secular politicians. And I think that's where the gap comes in. The gap comes in where, like, the people, the scholars who are meant to represent Islam, who are chosen for us to be those scholars out there in the social media or out there on television to represent Islam, have not done so in a comprehensive way. And I don't know if you saw something interesting happen on Twitter.
What's that?
Mufti Menk.
Oh yeah. The kids love him.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of sisters love him too. Yeah.
No,
It's true.
Yeah.
They like his style. A lot of people
The
like
sisters.
the compassionate.
The compassionate
Well,
man.
for Mufti Menk is not just the compassionate, is his way, his delivery.
Yeah.
He's always like the Almighty. It's like the.
Look, he's a great orator.
May Allah bless him. Yeah.
The guy has been able to, make Islam accessible for people and so on. But the issue, my friend, is that.
What was it that you were going to?
So what happened? Yeah. So the issue is that he's very timid about speaking about the uncomfortable issues. So there's a tweet he sent where he condemned what's happening in Palestine, the genocide, without using any of these words. Instead of genocide, he used the word unaliving.
Oh,
Have you ever play Roblox or ever go on Twitter, on TikTok?
no.
They use this word unalive
Yeah, because they don't want to be
because the
censored.
filters catch words like murder or kill and stuff like that.
Okay, okay.
So they unalive, and he doesn't talk about Israel or Zionists.
Yeah, but is
He talks
doing it?
about a specific strategic location, not Palestine. He talks about barbarism. He doesn't use the word genocide.
So, but what's wrong with him not wanting to be censored or whatever so he reaches more people?
No, but like we know you're not going to get censored on Twitter if you say these words, right? Especially as a big figure like him.
Oh, this is on
Other
Twitter.
bigger people. Yeah, this is on Twitter.
Okay.
This is a tweet.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think people like Mufti Menk and other people who, for better or for worse, have come to represent Islamic figures, have come to represent Islam, need to live up to that standard, need to live up to that mantle of al-ulama warathatul anbiya, that the scholars are the inheritors of the prophets. If you call yourself Mufti, and we spoke about this a little bit before, but
Yeah.
Yani if it's Brother Nas who's just kind of making online YouTube
Ustad,
content.
Ustad
No,
Nas.
not Ustad, not
Oh,
Ustad,
no,
just
no.
Brother Nas,
Brother Nas, okay.
making some content, going through the Sunnah, getting us to learn how to do tajweed.
Yeah.
And he doesn't talk about Palestine, or he doesn't talk about Sharia, he doesn't talk about political Islam and so on. Okay. But if you're a Mufti, you have to represent Islam comprehensively.
Be clear, I guess. You have to be clear.
You have to be clear, you have to be brave, you have to hit the chords. Like, the uncomfortable discussion is the most important discussion to have. The uncomfortable topic is, by definition, the most important topic to speak about. If something is easy to speak about, then by definition, there's going to be thousands of people talking about it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, akhi, you can go make a YouTube channel to teach people Arabic. It's great benefit.
Yeah.
But bro, there's so many people doing that. If you want to make an impact in this ummah, go where few dare to venture.
Right. And I think it's more so, it's not just about that. It's about like whenever we're trying to find our place of contribution to the ummah,
Yeah.
a lot of times we're scattered. Everyone's doing their own thing. Everyone's trying to figure out based on their own interpretations, based on their own likings, based on their own kind of like the feedback that they got for their content or what they feel like is going to be beneficial.
That's
right?
a good point.
Some people will teach like the heart softeners, right?
Yeah.
And then because of that, a lot of people are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Or some people will answer fiqh questions, right?
Yeah.
Like, is this, like fatwas, like, is this halal or haram?
Yeah.
And, everyone loves those things. Can I wipe over the socks or not? Like, when I travel, what happens is, so because of the feedback that they get from the people, they think this is where my place is. This is what I need to do for the ummah. So we're really scattered, and that's the problem. We actually need to be organized. Like everyone else organizes. Like the sunan of this material world is all organization. Like you would never, like if you're trying to build a building, right? Or you're trying to build a, construct a building, you're not going to tell a bunch of construction workers, like just show up and do whatever you guys want, whatever skill set you have, just go for it.
Yeah.
No, they're gonna, like, at some point they're gonna realize and they're gonna get together and be like, okay, we're scattered. What do you guys want to do? What do you want to work on? What do you want? I need you to do this. I need you. You need somebody, like, you need a head. You need, there's
The
different
foreman,
areas.
yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head because while you were speaking, yeah, you got it. Because while we were speaking, like I realized I don't want people to get the impression that I think that everybody should go and do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because to accomplish the objective of revival that we want to do, we need a diverse group of people with a diverse skill set doing different kinds of channels. Like lots of these things, which we shouldn't belittle, like even the kind of work that Mufti Menk does.
Yeah.
Can that be part of a strategy?
100%.
Absolutely.
100%, yeah.
Like, and Imam Tom, like he has this video where he mentions this. He talks about how, don't look down on people and call them watering down Islam. Because they might be level 1 for somebody, and they can become part of a hierarchy.
Yeah.
But I would still be critical of that.
Mm-hmm.
And because sure, like you can have a different style that's more amenable for, let's say, a level 1 kind of person, and maybe you want to focus on being a top of the funnel kind of person without ever compromising.
Right.
Like you can never like misrepresent Islam.
Yeah, compromise is one thing, and the other thing also is to also lead people in the right direction. Because like, what then after? Like, what's the next stage? I know for myself, and I'm sorry I'm cutting you off. Did you want to finish your point?
Like I think you're continuing my point.
Yeah. So like the way I got back on my deen, you can say, alhamdulillah, is at first I needed those heart softeners. I needed the good, feel good, you know, I needed those ahadith and the you know, ayat that really make me feel a lot better about, you know, hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the mercy of Allah, and you know, the opportunities for reward, and the actually expiation of sins as well. So that was all a blessing. And then slowly but surely, you know, at some point what I did was, unfortunately, I started to idolize the social media idols, which is like the figures, the faces that we see on social media.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah, like I was exposed to speakers from Yaqeen Institute, from Al Maghrib Institute, from Miftah Institute. I love them all. May Allah bless them. I remember they had a knowledge retreat in the US, Texas, their first knowledge retreat. And I benefited a lot. I went because I'm like, all the people that I've been watching, you know,
They're gonna be there.
They're gonna be there. I'm gonna, you know, basically meet them all in one shot. So might as well, you know, spend the bag and go for it, you know. So I did, alhamdulillah. I benefited a lot. I enjoyed it. But being there in person really humbled, I don't know how to say this, but humbled them in my eyes.
Like, you saw them as human.
I'm like, they're human. And the thing is, I wanted to go and talk to them and be like, you know, but I started seeing a lot of like younger people line up, and you know, and then I'm like, this is giving me like,
this is wrong.
This is giving me like fan vibes, like, you know, which is, I don't know how I felt about it. Me growing up in where I grew up, you know, like, it feels wrong for me to go and like do that to another like person. Like, I don't like idolize and like fangirl and like whatever it is.
Yeah, it's not manly.
It's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I just felt like I'm not gonna do that.
Not Islamic, definitely.
But then I realized, I'm like, the issue is that, like, going forward, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look through the messenger and focus on the message. The only reason I love them so much is because they are delivering the message. It's the message that I'm in love with. You know what I mean? I mean, is like, after that kind of experience, I realized with every event that I would go to, it would always be the same kind of like conclusion, which is like, go back to your communities and you know, implement what you've learned. And it's really open-ended. So it's beautiful, but like, I went back thinking, what, I need something local to do, like an effort. Like, what do I do? I started being more involved in the masjid. I started, you know, but then when you think like, okay, how is this connecting to the solution? How is this connecting to changing the world? How is this connecting to liberating and helping our brothers and sisters around the world? And I started to think, okay, well, should I just become an alim? Should I just become a preacher and a speaker like them, and then influence more people? Like, are we just supposed to influence as many people as we can in the whole world and just expand that, like make more Muslims until the whole world is like Muslim kind of thing? I really didn't have a roadmap. And alhamdulillah, like here with the I3 Institute, like I felt really grounded. I felt like there's like, I can see the connection, I can see the steps. And to my earlier discussion about the sister, right, who spoke up about Palestine.
Or the one on the
other sister. My message to that sister and anybody with that kind of, you know, sentiment is, you know, Islam has a solution. You know, there are a lot of people working towards that in a organized manner, in an organized way. And they're working according to the Quran and Sunnah. So find your place in the community that has a connection to, you know, the end goal, basically. I found my heart really being at peace with that, because I felt like, okay, now I know what I'm doing, and I can see
it's a beautiful thing, like to have not only like being an activist, being somebody who's actually working towards, you know, it fills a gap in you that like, you know, we all, what do we do? What do we do? When you actually understand, like, okay, I understand what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be changing the hearts and minds of the Muslims, you know, in planting the seeds to revitalize the Islamic civilization. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's laws are implemented, all of our problems will be solved. Because that's why he sent the laws. That's a great thing to have. And like that tension that exists in a Muslim activist who is pursuing secular forms of activism gets vanquished. And this is the issue, right? Because unfortunately, activism has become capitalized by left-wing socialists, nationalists.
Look at everybody in the protests. Like, you see who's showing up, right?
Exactly. And it's a failure. It's a failure on the Muslim leadership. That we haven't been able to galvanize and lead our own people from an Islamic lens on how to make a change. And hopefully that's something that, you know, I3 takes a leadership role in.
Alhamdulillah. And there are many other organizations that are doing it around the world. Alhamdulillah. May Allah bless them all. May Allah bless us all and guide us. Alhamdulillah, that's a good note to end on, I believe.
May Allah bless you.
Right?
Yeah, I think we're
Alhamdulillah.
good, bro.
So inshallah, we'll see you on the next episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Here we
and,
go, YouTuber.
Comment. Leave us some comments so that we know if you want us to speak about any specific topics, or yap about something. Or I'm the pro yapper. So alhamdulillah.
We'll be in the comment section if there's any interesting comments. You know, keep it interesting, people.
Yeah.
Don't keep it boring. Like, oh, I love your stuff. Thank you. But give me something a little more zesty, you know? Give me some zhuzh.
No zesty, no zesty. I'm
We
sorry.
need some zest.
Astaghfirullah. Guys, pause. No zestiness. But he doesn't know what that means.
I don't know what that means.
So yeah, but definitely give us some spice. Give us a hot sauce, inshallah.
Bye.
God bless you guys all. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.